Shalom Uvracha from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. We are privileged this evening, with the help of God, to study the Haftarah of Parshat Ki Tavo. Parshat Ki Tavo's Haftarah is taken from the 60th chapter of the book of Isaiah, and all the Haftarot of the weeks that we have been studying recently all deal with the rebuilding of Eretz Yisrael, the rebuilding of Yerushalayim, the ingathering of the exiles. Some of us feel that maybe the people right here in this room, the people right here in this city, the people right here in this country, maybe we're reading about them in the Haftarah itself, because it speaks about how they're all going to be gathered to Israel. And thank God, so many of us are here already. May everyone be able to join immediately, way before the Shabbat. I'd like to focus on one of the sentences which always struck me. It's the next to the last verse of the Haftarah. Those people following chapter 60, verse 21. And the text speaks there about how the entirety of the nation of Israel are all righteous. They all will be righteous, or they all are righteous. Ve'amech, very beautiful words, I think. Ve'amech kulam tzadikim. And your nation, the nation of Israel, are all tzadikim. All the nation, all the members of the people of Israel are all on the levels of righteousness. La'olam yirishu aretz, and forever they will inherit the land. Now, according to the classical commentaries, this means that at a certain point in history, at a certain point in history, it means this evening, I hope, we are already at the point where all the negative forces have already turned positive with the help of Hashem. And the only thing we can speak about is are pious people, holy people, sacred people, and the nation of Israel. Kulam tzadikim. And as a result of them, kulam tzadikim, Isaiah is saying, never again will they be exiled, never again will they have to leave Eretz Yisrael. La'olam yirishu aretz. Forever they will inherit the land of Israel. Neitzer mata'ai ma'aseh yadai litpa'er. An offshoot of my planting, my handiwork, ma'aseh yadai. They're so glorious. Litpa'er. Such a glorious nation, in which to glory in the glory of Israel. They're all beautiful. They're all glorious. They're all wonderful. And one can say that, we always read Ki Tavo. We always read this Torah section about 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. And I think that maybe this is a proper mindset in preparing for Rosh Hashanah. Maybe we have to start thinking about each other as tzaddikim. Ve'amech, who are the righteous people? Everyone is righteous. Ve'amech kulam tzadikim. But what about the fact that this person doesn't seem to be acting so properly, and that person seems to be very off in their activities? So what do you say? It says here, ve'amech kulam tzadikim. Well, maybe it's tzaddik. Could sometimes be Kohelet said. There is no such thing as a tzaddik on earth that does only good and never sins. Even tzaddikim sin. Remember the sentence in the book of Ecclesiastes, right? There is no tzaddik asher ya'aseh tov v'lo yeheta. Okay, so they did something negative. They did something improper, but they're tzaddikim. Do you see their inner beauty? Do you see their inner holiness? V'amech kulam, all of them. I guess each person has to think about the person in the nation that they think of as being maybe the opposite of a tzaddik. And maybe the meditation for this haftarah has to be, that person is a tzaddik. Really? The amech kulam tzaddikim? I saw one of the commentaries, he says, even if individually, maybe there are certain people who are not tzaddikim, but kulam, kulam means, all of them together. And that could be one of the reasons why we encourage religiously, halachically, the importance of praying together with others. We don't approach God on Rosh Hashanah, we don't approach God on Yom Kippur only as individuals. We try our best, and hopefully everybody should be well enough and connected enough to go to a minyan, to go to a Beit Knesset, to go to a Beit Midrash, and to join Am Yisrael, to join the entirety of the nation. Va'amech kulam tzadikim. Because even if an individual somewhere is lacking, but the fact that they're joining together with the group, so maybe there's a certain kind of special consideration for a group. I was in Ben Gurion Airport, and I saw the way certain people check in. They question each person who arrives there, and sometimes they look at each suitcase. But there was a group check-in, a whole group flying together, maybe 100 people. It was very interesting to me because 100 individuals would take who knows how long before they get through security. The leader of the group went over and said, well, this whole group, these are all my campers, and we were all traveling together. And in 1 minute, opened up the gate, 100 of them walked through. And I thought maybe that's the lesson in prayer. Maybe if you want to try your own pursuits of gateways of prayer, I hope you can be successful. But our recommendation is become part of the community, become part of the kulam. Because even if you're missing, so someone else in the community, someone else in the congregation, someone else in the kahal, someone else in the tzibur will make up for it. And when you join together with the tzibur, if you're a member of the community, if you're a member of the congregation, then the kulam, va'amech kulam, tzadikim. As a united group, we're all tzadikim because we're all connected together, and the great value that you have, the great accomplishment that you have. So I'm missing that aspect in my behavior. I'm missing that aspect in my personality. But now we're all holding hands because we're all in shul together, and we're davening with a minyan, and we're concentrating together. So kulam. So in a certain sense, there's a level of transferring and sharing the merits of one with the other, and the meritorious deeds of an individual are shared with the community. That's one of the interpretations here of the word kulam tzadikim. Interestingly enough, in the Mishnah, in Masechet Sanhedrin, in Perek Chelek, this text is quoted not speaking about Eretz Yisrael. They quote this text as a proof text. I think the simple interpretation, contextually in chapter 60 of Isaiah, is talking about the rebuilding of Eretz Yisrael, as is mentioned many times in the Haftarah. Anyone who wants to read it can read through the whole parak, through the whole chapter here, speaking about how the Jews will be gathered to Eretz Yisrael and how they will be able once again. This is the famous prophecy about how they'll fly to Israel. Those people interested can look at sentence 8 of the Haftarah that says here explicitly in Isaiah, they're going to fly like the clouds to Israel. That's amazing, right? Who are these people like flying like clouds, like doves? Unbelievable, right? All the cynics who thought we're never going to get to Israel. And all the people who have to try to explain the pathways of God. We flew to Israel. All the people here, we flew to Eretz Israel. Whoever heard about flying? You know how long ago this was written? Who are like flying Kav to Ufena? Very exciting Haftarah to read, very exciting Haftarah to study. So I think the simple interpretation of Yerushu Aretz, they will inherit the land, is talking about the land of Israel. But interestingly enough, in the Mishnah in Masechet Sanhedrin, the rabbis teach that everybody of Am Yisrael has a section of the world to come. Kol Yisrael yesh lahem helek la'olam haba. The entire nation, right? All of Israel.
They have the opportunity.
I'm sorry?
I just learned this actually, that they initially, because they accepted the Torah and Har Sinai, we got the opportunity, but we can lose it if we don't.
I wouldn't say opportunity. I mean, I respect that interpretation and that translation. That's not the way I think. I don't. It is true. It is true that there's a way to lose it, but I think everyone is given a ticket.
Right, they get a ticket.
Right. So that's not. You have to do something if you want to rip up your ticket. You want to throw it away. Kol Yisrael, yesh lehem chelek olam haba. The entire nation has a section of the world to come, and the Mishnah quotes a proof text. The Mishnah quotes a proof. Where do you get this from? Shene'emar, as it says in Isaiah 60, V'amech kulam tzadikim. Right? Your nation, they're all righteous. La'olam yirushu aretz. La'olam yirushu aretz. They will all inherit. They will all inherit the land. Inherit the land. What land? So they're not speaking. If you look in the commentary, they're not speaking here about land. The Mishnah is not talking about Eretz Yisrael, but the ultimate land, the ultimate good, the land beyond, the existence beyond this existence. They understood this text as meaning that this pasuk is implying that they will inherit the land, the ultimate level of blessing, as portrayed in our sources about the world to come, about the perfected level of the world of the souls, the perfected level of the world to be. Our text speaks about the entire nation being connected to such activities. Perhaps this is the time of year where we see the piety, where we see the greatness, where we see the holiness of the entire nation. What percentage of people, Baruch Hashem, find their ways to the synagogue in Rosh Hashanah, even those that don't make it the whole year? They seem to be there Rosh Hashanah. They seem to be there on Yom Kippur. The synagogues are packed. And then even people who openly claim that they have nothing to do with religious practice. I recently read what percentage of Jews in Eretz Israel fast on Yom Kippur. Amazing, right? I recently read about how few people would dare to go into a car on Yom Kippur. There's a certain level of holiness, a certain level of perfection. Everybody seems to be wishing everybody else just walk the streets here of Eretz Israel. Ketiva is a very, very religious context.
It's even on the buses.
What?
On the buses.
Ketiva v'chativa tova, right? That implies that's a very, very religious statement. Shana tova, Shana tova. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with saying Shana tova, but ketiva, what do I mean? Writing is based on a certain kind of idea that God is writing. That there's a book of life. So the whole nation is involved in certain kinds of levels of pursuits. And maybe we have to appreciate those people that we see walking into the shul that we haven't seen for a while. And maybe we have to appreciate the holiness of all of them. La'olam yirshu aretz. We are praying together for a year where not just certain individuals will be blessed. We want the entire people, and through the entire people, the whole world, to be blessed. Because v'amech kulam tzadikim. In a certain sense, when a person pursues the opposite of righteousness, it's as if someone is falling into the mud, and the mud has to be washed off. But underneath, they're really pure. Elokai, nishama shenatata bi tihorahi. The soul that you gave me is pure. You can't touch that. It's untainted. It's untainted. It's really pure. We read with inspiration the Haftarah of Parshat Tavo. We read about how the whole nation is holy, and with the help of Hashem, the entire nation will inherit Eretz Yisrael forever. La'olam yirshu aretz. And not only will they inherit Eretz Yisrael in the physical sense, Eretz Yisrael also represents the concept of the world beyond this world. Yerushalayim shel mata and Yerushalayim shel mala, the earthly Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem, through the inheritance of the piety of the Jewish people of this earth, this land. Ezrat Hashem, they'll also inherit the world beyond. We wish everyone the happiest and sweetest year, and hopefully we will be able to recognize and to see in each other the purity and the holiness. May the words of Isaiah inspire those of us who are not yet openly connected to being tzaddikim. Maybe we have to live up to the words of Yeshayahu. Maybe it's a good goal for this year. Va'amech kulam tzaddikim. We wish all the tzaddikim, that's the entire nation. We wish the whole people, all the tzaddikim, the fulfillment of the great words of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 21, because Neitzer mata'ai, ma'aseh yadai lehitpa'er. May God's glory be glorified through each and every one of the members of the nation. Thank you so much for listening. Shalom.